You made it. Welcome back, you BEA beautiful souls. Today we're going to talk about Space Marines 2. Yes, I've played it. And no, there's no such thing as femboy Space Marines. This is one of the most satisfying games I've played since Warhammer 40k Darktide. It's a horde style game, and there's nothing more satisfying than cutting an enemy up in half with your Inviscerator, Chainsword, or Chainsword Greatsword. But in this game, you're pretty much doing it with your bare hands, and that's freaking awesome. The animations, the sound designs are absolutely peak, and a game that puts so much detail into those core attributes is already miles ahead of other games that release for $70 and are completely forgotten in the next couple of months, okay? What I know for sure what you won't forget is the feeling of being a Space Marine. So when you go straight into work on a Monday morning, you are going to try to purge the unclean, I can promise you that much. I think it's safe to say that most cult-like followers who adore their franchises, whether it be the Souls-like series, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, Space Marines, Hollow Knight even, love when their favorite titles are reaching heights never seen before, when they are praised in a market filled with broken promises and just blatant agendas. So when I got my hands on this game that helped further explain the lore that I never ever really knew, I only had good things to say about it. I'm not gonna lie to you, I am a pretty lazy person when it comes to learning lore, okay? I turn on a VAD video to learn about, Elden Ring, Dark Souls lore, or I go to my boy Limit Breakers to learn about useless knowledge about the Dark Souls stuff, and then I just fall asleep and drift off into the hunter's dream. I am learning this stuff passively, but of course it's learning through sleep, and that definitely works. I am not coping. Besides a few frame drops and the servers being absolutely dog cheeks for an early access, that is, I'd say an overall experience pretty freaking solid. Now, I first got into Warhammer series by playing Total War Warhammer. This is a game filled with the Warhammer universe, but with the Total War game mechanics, which honestly is such a delight to invest in so many hours into. I kid you not, one of my favorite games of all time. The hardcore micromanagement of the PvP, the strategic elements, and the time-consuming PvE aspect where you have to try to dominate every other faction in strategic combat. Seeing how the world building was carefully crafted and made me respect the people who enjoy the series even more so, I wanted to dive into more games like it because the universe was so vast and expansive. Vermintide then came along, and it had the most addicting horde-style combat in the market. I really enjoyed Killing Floor 2, but it was a really small map and didn't really have as much personality as Vermintide because you get to kill more hordes in a different way instead of just shooting them in the face. I like the melee combat, adding a little bit of range is great. I put tons of hours into that, but Warhammer has different universes, and that was set in the fantasy realm. Darktide then came along, and this is where things got really serious. I started learning more about the Omnissiah, the Space Marines, Nurgles, and of course how powerful religion is. Ooh, scary. Well, to be fair, it is scary because if you're a non-believer, you're probably gonna get crucified for it. Believe in something hard enough and it will come true, and I believe these games were going to be a treat for the average gamer. The people games used to be made for. Nowadays, it feels like they make it only towards a specific audience, checking off boxes, but in Space Marines 2, I'm learning so much that my brain's imploding, at least not as much as the Tyranids, because performing finishers on these stunned enemies is such a dream come true for me. I cannot tell you how much I enjoy seeing decapitations. Okay, that sounds terrible when I say it, but like in video games, it's totally fine, okay? I really enjoy seeing these moves because I am not the strongest guy out there. I'm not benching 300 pounds, but this Titus Space Marine is. It gives me vibes of Gears of War, Doom, and of course Ninja Gaiden, some of my favorite games back in the day. If you don't get your neurons activated to leave that goon cave after seeing this big beefy man doing some masculine stuff, I don't know what can help you. You probably worship chaos. I know that some of you guys actually do. Don't worry, I am gym maxing, but I'm not planning on taking steroids and injecting that shit into my ass. I don't need to be the biggest guy in the gym. I just need to freaking look good for myself and my goth mommy. Now, I didn't play the previous Space Marines, but I can say for a fact that this game will always have a cult-like following that will support it. It's filled with a PvE campaign that you can play with 2 other friends, an operation mode where you can take on side quests that actually happen in the campaign with 2 other Space Marines, and mind you, it's filled with a perk system, a level system, and loads of replayability. And then of course the PvP, which is very reminiscent of the Gears of War series. If you guys haven't played it, it is an Xbox exclusive, but it essentially has the same mechanics and the same type of gameplay. I mean, most third-person shooters kind of operate this way. Even Metal Gear Solid Online had similar mechanics with invisibility, you're dodging 24/7, and it's just a third-person shooter that's tactical. The campaign is a great starting place to learn the mechanics and actually feel how badass these Space Marines are. If you don't know much about these characters, it's not too big of a deal because they do carry themselves already really well, and it shows so much about them. You may be lost in some of the story, but it's pretty straightforward on who the enemy is and what your objective is. I'm not gonna lie to you though, Titus may be the most masculine protagonist that I have played in a very long time. A few that come to my mind are obviously going to be Doomslayer, Kazuya from Tekken 8, Geralt from Witcher, Kazuma Kiryu from Yakuza, Jin Sakai from Ghost of Tsushima, and then of course my homeboy Ryo Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden. All those characters have really strong personality traits to them that I really want to have myself, and you strive for those as a man, or just actually anybody. You want to be confident and you want to do your best out there. The aura goes up when you become a Space Marine. That's just the fact of the matter. Just a few that I can think of at this moment in time, but with a chin like Titus, I know we're all hitting the gym after seeing him rip a Tyranid in half, okay? Now, masculinity comes in a few forms, but seeing him persevere through adversity and remain true to his beliefs is nothing short of inspirational. It's truly a captivating experience playing through the story and seeing how things play out. I won't spoil the ending for you, but if you are playing this on max graphics, you are in for a treat. We only dreamed of reaching this graphic fidelity in the Warhammer universe, but now it's actually come to life. Granted, I only played in medium graphics with DLSS on, unfortunately, but it's because I don't have a NAS computer, but I think it looks amazing to me, and that's the most important part. If you're enjoying this game, don't let anyone else tell you that the game is not good. Alright, if you're having fun, that's all that matters. Give me a solid 60 FPS and I'm a happy guardsman. The operations game mode is probably where most players will spend their time on. You can rank up your Space Marines and customize it to quite a significant degree. I haven't unlocked most of it, nor have been able to grind it like the average Twitch streamer, but I can promise you I'll be racking up tons of hours on it like I did with Vermintide and Darktide. Both combined, it's probably close to 2k hours, which I should be touching grass soon, but why touch grass when you can keep serving the Holy Emperor, you damn heretics. Still, it's only 6 missions and about, I think it's 4 difficulties, but they are planning on adding more free content for us to enjoy. I'm optimistic on how well these are going to be made, but I think the biggest concern for me personally is adding more weapons, as each class does serve its own purpose, but having more options isn't the worst thing. You also can't pick more than one class in a team of 3, so that kind of sucks, because if someone wants to play Bulwark, which is probably one of the most popular characters, or Assault, then you're kind of shit out of luck. You have to play a different class, and honestly, some of the other classes just aren't as fun besides dive kicking everybody in the face, which is absolutely hilarious. The people's favorite definitely seems to be Bulwark, not Ad Profundis, but the staple sword and shield. Melee is very strong in this game, and being able to block and parry really gives you quite an exhilarating time and an edge against all of the crap in the game. The combat is simple, but satisfying enough to keep you invested in it. You're mostly just mashing your heavy and light attack. Some weapons have charge modes, 2 different stances, and that's pretty freaking awesome. The heavy class that utilizes heavy weaponry is pretty subpar in melee combat, but has high firepower and will delete enemies. Just make sure you know how to parry and watch out for those back shots, because there's gonna be hordes of Tyranids coming from behind you. Sniper class seems to be the camouflage trick where you can hide and deal more damage when you exit out of the cloak. It's the classic camouflage, and then alt-tabbing to write a message to your friends on Discord, and I honestly love that aspect of it. I do this all the time in Darktide, and it's really bad for team play, but I feel like if you're a Space Marine, you can handle all the Tyranids yourself anyways, am I right? Actually, I think it's starting to sound like heresy. The last field sniper really is one of the best weapons, and I just love handling it. Assault is probably my next favorite class, and I think it's going to be a fan favorite too. You fly in the sun and rain justice from above. Doing this in PvP really is the most satisfying thing ever, even more so than just clicking heads with the sniper class. The Thunderhammer really does the Space Marines justice, and PvP is just PvP. It's Gears of War of Space Marines, and I think a lot of people are going to like that. It's entertaining to watch and an enjoyable experience, as long as your team isn't getting completely decimated from the spawn. Melee kind of feels weird where if you get into that range, 90% of the time you'll both die because you decide to get up close. Unless the enemy teammates are completely brainwashed, which some of them will be, you'll be gunned down after killing your enemy or just trade deaths. Unless you are the Bulwark, which can block bullets basically indefinitely. Tactician is probably one of the most useful classes since you have a pocket UAV to spot enemies, and Sniper seems pretty bad in close range maps, but in long range maps you can pretty much get some nasty plays just by holding down a corridor. Each class has its own playstyles. You can absolutely flank and get some nice plays, yet I don't know what the meta is going to be right now, so it's best you try to enjoy your class or just watch an entire death squad of Space Marines running towards your spawn. And while they're doing that, enjoy your fashion as much as you can. There's a lot of customization for you can make a lot of cool looking builds, and I can't wait to try out more of this when I do grind. It's also important too that PvP levels also correlate with the PvE operations mode, so feel free to grind that if you don't want to grind out on fighting Tyranids all the time. It's a nice change of pace in my opinion. Overall, I'm really enjoying this game, and it's a breath of fresh air to those that want to dive into the horde style shooters in the market. It may not be for everybody, but I think it has redeeming qualities that even the casual player base can really sink their teeth into. Most importantly, get invested into the story, the lore, the characters, and of course, the religion. There's nothing more powerful than believing in something and having it be the core of your being. That's how amazing people can keep pushing on no matter what struggles they are facing. The developers that are making this game, the people who made Wukong, you know, they're pushing on because they believe in something, and I believe this game will do very well. Is it going to hold a cult following? Absolutely. Is it going to hold 200,000 players, 2 million players within the span of a year? I don't think so. Obviously, most games aren't meant to be doing that well. The only games that do that well are basically the casual games like Fortnite, where it appeals to everybody and it's a free game. You know, the price tag is $60. This is expensive. Not many people are going to be paying for this. They're going to be buying, the Warhammer players are going to be buying their figurines instead of playing the game itself. So that's something that they'll have to watch out for, because not everyone is going to be wanting to invest so much time and money into this game. Obviously, there's going to be Warhammer fans that will play this game because it is going to be their entire personality trait, but if they spend so much money on the figurines already, they'll have to wait like maybe a month or two before they can actually get this game. However, I will say this game will have a cult-like following, probably hold average about like maybe 3-5K players or maybe 10K players on Steam, depending on how much content they actually give us. If it's a content drought like Darktide and Vermintide, like they've always done before, it's probably going to stagger down to like the 2K player base, 2,000 players, and maybe even less, maybe a little bit more. But at this moment in time, I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this game. So I hope you guys have been enjoying this game. I've really liked it a lot. I love streaming it, and I love playing it offline with my friends and all that good stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye-bye. See you later.